Wow, I still can't believe this. Here I am, sitting on the couch in the Schultz family's living room, feeling like an outsider in my own life. And the kids. What in the world am I going to say to Mela when they wake up? How do I even begin to explain any of this? Or is she just going to spin some tale about how I up and left in the middle of the night? Part of me wants to drown it all out, forget the mess. But all they have here is kefir. Not exactly the kind of drink I had in mind. Not that it matters if their kids see me wandering around the house half drunk, right? My mind keeps drifting back to how all of this started. It feels like it was just yesterday that Mela and I were back at the institute, dating, and then getting married. Things seemed so simple then. But out of nowhere, Mela got this idea about moving to Germany. I didn't really get it, but I went along with it. Honestly, I didn't care where we went, Germany, Honduras, whatever, so long as I was with her. She went off to study, and I ended up taking whatever job I could, doing odd handyman stuff despite having a law degree I never used. My friends, when I'd called them, would joke about me being a fool, but I didn't see it that way. When did everything start changing? Maybe it was when Mela insisted on naming our second daughter Margarita, but then started calling her Gretchen all the time. Same thing, I guess, just with a German twist. But even at home, she wasn't around much. She was so absorbed in her studies and career that I ended up doing all the dad stuff, taking the girls to their doctor appointments, school, reading bedtime stories. Julia, Frau Schultz, our neighbour, she was always going on about how great I was, telling her husband how much she admired me. He'd laugh and call me whipped, but I didn't care. I thought it was normal, supporting each other, right? But looking back, I didn't realize how much things were shifting. Mela stopped inviting me to corporate events, wouldn't introduce me to any of her new friends, and honestly, it felt like she was embarrassed by me. I didn't notice when she started blushing every time she made a mistake with the language, even though the Germans around us were always kind about it. Her job started taking over more and more of her time. She'd come home late -11, midnight some nights. The girls barely saw her. And when I said something about how they were starting to forget what she even looked like, she snapped. You don't get it, do you? I'm working. You have no idea how hard it is to keep a good position. I didn't argue. I trusted her too much and somehow missed the signs. Mela wasn't Mela anymore. She'd become someone else, strong, independent. And one night, out of nowhere, she woke me up to tell me we weren't right for each other anymore, that it was time for me to leave. You've stopped growing. You're just boring now. And just like that, everything changed. It's only now that I'm beginning to understand why she chose the dead of night to order me to pack up and leave immediately, without letting me wait for morning. She knew I wouldn't make a scene while the girls were sleeping. It looks like a bad comedy. And now I'm standing on the doorstep of the Schultz family, our neighbours. Thank God they didn't throw me out, although they were definitely stunned. Mr. Schultz looked at me as if I were a ghost. Is everything okay with your wife or the girls? I told them what happened, and Schultz let me in. They offered me more support in that moment than Mela had in days, probably weeks. Frau made up the couch for me, and Schultz poured tea while quietly listening. It's my fault, he sighed. I spoiled her, but she took advantage of you. And you're a fool. She's already found someone, and that means you're out. She's gotten everything she needed from you, and now it's goodbye. When I stepped out onto the porch the next morning, I knew he was right. A black car pulled up, and out stepped a man who kissed Mela on the cheek. Part of me wanted to rush in and cause a scene, but Schultz stopped me. And looking back, I'm thankful for that. Hold on, she's doing this on purpose, trying to provoke you so she can paint you as unstable, aggressive, and who knows what else when it comes to the courts. You need to fight for the girls. It really hurt me. When I saw the way the girls were looking at this stranger, confused, unsure, my heart sank. A new man has appeared in their life. Someone's stepfather. And Mela. She wasn't their protector. It was obvious. After some enlightenment, I made a decision. I was going to fight for them. I wasn't going to give them to her. Schultz just stared into the water. At the trial, Mela did everything she could to paint me as some violent, unstable monster. She even claimed I'd hurt her children. But luckily, even a German court needs more than accusations to convict someone. I kept my eyes on her, but I couldn't figure out what had happened to my wife. Mela, why are you doing this? I asked her in Russian. The judge shot me a sharp look, so I repeated the question in German. Mela didn't even answer. She didn't even look at me. And once again, I have to thank Schultz. They told me in no uncertain terms that Mela had never really taken care of the kids, that I spent more time with them, and that I was a great father. The girls loved me. But honestly, I don't know how things would have turned out if Mela hadn't called me herself to say she agreed to let me have the girls. Turns out they were starting to get on her new boyfriend's nerves, making noise, shouting, not listening, and interfering with his work. So he demanded that she give them to me. The girls and I packed up and moved to Munich, where I decided to open a small repair business. And now, 4 years later, we are here. I met Liska. She came to me looking for a job as an interior designer, so I think we can say that the company has started to gain momentum. And then, out of nowhere, Mela appeared on my doorstep. At first, I didn't even recognize her. I left a confident, successful woman, and now I was staring at someone who looked like she'd been through hell, down on her luck, poorly dressed. "Henry," she exclaimed, practically in tears. He turned out to be another brute, stole our company's money, and set me up. I had to sell everything just to pay off the debts. She was sobbing now. "Forgive me, Andrew. I've missed you and the girls so much." "Andra, who's there?" Liska's voice came from behind me as she stepped into the hallway, wearing nothing but a robe. For a split second, I felt like I'd been caught with my mistress. But then I reminded myself that we'd been divorced for a long time. I quickly explained who was who. Liska looked at me, clearly puzzled, and I could feel that if I made the wrong choice now, Mela would silently pack up and leave, just like I had done 4 years ago. "I'm sorry, Mela," I said, pulling some papers from my coat pocket. "This is all I can do to help you." Mela shuddered, but took the money. After that, her parents started calling me, trying to make me feel guilty, saying that I had abandoned her to her fate. But she couldn't bring herself to return to her homeland, so in the end, Mela, like me, had to start all over again. And judging by what the girls say when they spend time with her, the uncles are always different, and the apartments are constantly changing. Well, that's her choice, and I think it was worth it for her.